Hi, I'm Teresa McKee, CEO of Work to Live, and I'm here today with the Work to Live staff, Melissa Sims, our social media director, Vanessa Barajas, our program coordinator, and Jesse Brennan, our program manager.
Hi.
And we just thought we'd have continue the conversation that we started last week in the podcast, which is really about the spreading of the pandemic fatigue now, or quarantine fatigue. And we're moving into our 8th month of this. And it's what's getting to most people is, of course, I'm not talking about the people who have the virus or catch the virus, but for the vast majority of people, there's more and more resistance to being restricted or sitting at home, and depression's going up, suicide's going up. There's all these psychological issues that we're dealing with that we've never dealt with before. So we thought we'd talk about it, since again, we're a nice sort of cross section of the population and demographics, to see how we're coping, how it's going, and maybe come up with some ideas of what we can do to help us get through another 7 or 8 months of this. So anybody want to start? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling okay. I think I've been feeling okay from the beginning, just okay.
Yeah.
I'm having moments now where I'm like, I need something to do, but I'm someone who's normally like pretty satisfied not having anything to do.
Yeah.
So it's a change for me. I'm not normally someone that needs to be like out and about, but I'm starting to feel those urges, which are not completely natural to me.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm feeling fine. I think only because I have the distraction of children. I think if I didn't have that going on, that I would probably be losing my mind. But just trying to keep their online school and everything kind of contained and in order. And then, we're still busy at Work to Live, so that's a good distraction as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably better that I'm not going out. I feel okay right now, though, but I know a lot of people are not.
Yeah.
I know for me, I hardly ever went out because of school and classes. So like at the beginning, I was fine because we had our online classes, but summer was hard. I had more time. I didn't know what to do with it. But now I'm starting getting back into that routine because classes have started. I'm also in my internship and I'm working, so pretty busy.
So more distractions. Yeah, I've never had so many ups and downs as I have had during this period. And I was thinking about, I can't remember now which of our guests on the podcast said this, but I made some comment about, at that time I was struggling with boredom. And she had said, well, boredom's not a bad thing. And I had to really think about that. It got me to thinking of a couple of things that we'll talk about, but boredom is a bad thing for me. So I don't think there's anything wrong with having downtime or relaxing. Like if that's your intention, I think that's wonderful. But boredom for me is where I have the energy to do something or to take some action. And I either can't think of what action to take, or I can't take whatever action it is that I want to take. So I'm sitting with this energy that starts then my mind racing because I need to do something and I can't figure out what to do. So that's, for me, that's boredom, and I find it quite frustrating. And I think I've had a lot of that. I agree, and we're so lucky that Work to Live's been busy this whole time, but that's all I'm doing most of the time is working. And it's getting to me, it's like, it's getting boring for me, and my work has never been boring for me, but it's just because it's day after day, the monotony, the 7 days of the week blurring together. So I did, just a few weeks ago, start getting really strict with myself about absolutely no work on the weekends, at least, which means I can't come in this room. It's that big of a draw. It's like I have nothing else to do. Why not check my email? So I shut the door and I don't come in here now, which has actually helped, I think, my mood. But I think for me, and Melissa, what you said is very interesting to me, because I think if I had something, anything to take care of or to do besides work, I would be faring better. But what happens is I'm like sitting around for days, nothing to do, only talking to people on Zoom. There's nothing really to talk about socially or personally because no one's doing anything. So it's not like there's these lively, I want to say our staff meetings are the highlight of my, week, 3 days, because at least we have a conversation. But in general, there's nothing happening. And that is boredom for me. That's not relaxing. So That's one area that I've really noticed that I'm struggling with. And of course, the other one we've talked about between all of us and on the podcast, which is having fun. Like we're not having enough fun. So I think that's probably a good area to go into if you have any thoughts about that. Like, are you having any fun, or how are you creating fun, or what does that mean to you?
I'm not having a ton of fun. I feel like I'm having a lot of responsible adult things going on in my life, but I'm not really having a lot of fun. And I tried to think about, well, what was I doing before the pandemic for fun? And I don't know, it's still stuff I can do, really. So I just need to get back into that stuff. But I think I got so distracted with, oh my gosh, this is what's going on. This is what I have to take care of now. The kids and their schedule and my schedule and the dog, and I can't go anywhere and I have to online shop for everything. It kind of distracts you for a little while until you can start getting back into those things. So one of the main things that I decided to do probably maybe a month or two into the pandemic, I think when we could finally go back to a store, I think it was probably 2 months into the pandemic, but or quarantine, I decided to do a vegetable garden because I didn't want to go to the grocery store. That was the last thing I wanted to do. And buying online or vegetables online it's a scary thing because you're getting stuff that you would never pick at the grocery store. So I decided, okay, well, I'm just going to try my own. And my husband was home at the time from work. And so he built me this great garden outside. And it actually really keeps me occupied because I go out every day and I check on my vegetables. I can clean up the little area where the vegetables are. And for even people that don't have the space for the vegetables, they do have vertical gardens. You can do that. They have hydroponic lights and stuff that you can do that indoors or even on a patio. So you really don't need a yard to do it. And it kind of does feel good because you're taking care of something, like you said. When you don't have something to take care of, you're like, what do I do? But then you have something to take care of and it's actually helping you in turn. So.
Well, I thought that was I did everything. I bought the bread maker. That was a bomb. Everybody knows. And I planted a garden. It's dead. So that's kind of where I started having this issue of why can't I have fun? And I realized just recently I'm calling it the wrong thing. Fun for me means excitement. That's really the definition in my head. So it's, it's exploring new places. It's going on a roller coaster. It really is everything I tried to think of that I call fun are things I cannot do now. And so I realized, okay, so I enjoy gardening, but I don't think of it as fun. Yeah. So I thought, okay, I need to focus on what I can enjoy. And that just started to open it back up tremendously for me in the last week and a half. But I want to hear first from Vanessa and Jesse about their fun escapades. So Jesse, just look on your face says you're not.
Okay. I started a garden as well. I started a vegetable garden, and I had a vegetable garden last year and I loved it. And this year it just didn't hit the same way. I stopped weeding it, and I was really just looking for what can the garden give me and not giving back to it. So I stopped taking care of it, and then eventually all the plants stopped producing vegetables, and I started holding it against the garden that I had to take care of it. That's and I agree with you, the gardening is fun, but sometimes the way that I want to have fun is not to fulfill another responsibility. Sometimes it feels fun, sometimes it feels just like another responsibility that I have to complete, and I just stopped doing it if I wasn't in the mood, and I found myself not being in the mood. So I tore them all out this weekend. So I like gardening, but it's definitely kind of something that just occupies my time, and it's fun sometimes. I think for me, true fun is just being just kind of just silly, just being stupid and silly. And I get in these, and I don't feel like that all the time, but if I get in a mood, I just have to, I don't know, just goof around. And I live with my my partner, so he's normally home, and we can goof around, and I've been pantsing him and just acting like a 12-year-old boy. I've been dancing a lot too.
Oh, good.
just like putting on music and dancing around my house. And it's just kind of, it helps to get that like sense of levity.
Mhm.
I agree with that. And it's funny, the only other thing for me that I came up with that wasn't external to do that I call fun is when I really laugh hard with people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's largely missing, except for us laughing
Yeah.
at each other. We do that fairly regularly, but other than that, I'm not laughing with anybody. And I realize there's no, I used to laugh until I cried. If you go out with friends or, go out, Melissa and I have just like had everybody in a restaurant staring at us before because we're laughing till we're crying.
Mhm.
And I don't know if it's because there's not a lot funny going on in the world these days. I don't think it's that. I think it's that personal connection. So it's harder
Yeah.
to be funny
Mm-hmm.
online, as proof is all of the comedians that are struggling to do this online now, right? So that also is missing. So that's a good one. I'll have to think about that, goofing off some more.
Yeah, see, with my kids, that's all we do is be goofy.
Yeah.
So that's super helpful.
Helpful. Yeah.
I'm not recommending you go have children. I'm just saying it is helpful.
It's a pretty high price to pay to have a little fun.
Yeah.
How about you, Vanessa?
Well, something that I found fun, will maybe not be fun to other people, was exercising. I know, like, growing up for me, like, physical activity, I did it every day. Like, it was nonstop for me. So during the summer, I started getting back into it because I had that more time to do. And so what I did was I just exercised in my room, and just remembering like the training that I had from cross country and track, I like implemented that like just in my room, because there's these exercises that you could do just by in one position. It could be like body resistant exercises that just really helped me, even mentally too. And I guess like those hit exercises too, I tried. I know Jesse tried that. And just like to spice things up, I would go on YouTube and watch videos that I had never seen before. So that would be something new for me to do. So that's what I found fun.
Very cool. Yeah, today it's I don't know, it's serendipitous, but one of the things that I did really early in the pandemic for enjoyment, I'm not going to call it fun, but for enjoyment, was the kiddie pool, right? So I've used it a lot, but the last couple of weeks I've stopped using it. It got too hot here, and then I've been too busy. But it's very interesting that I had decided this week was the last week for the kiddie pool. Like, it needs to come down, and it's pretty big. The 3 feet deep and the 7 feet wide thing is a lot of water. And so I was thinking, okay, how are we going to drain all that water? And I walked out there this morning to take a look, and it's gone flat. So the whole thing is collapsing. So I thought, well, that enjoyment's done now, but at least I made it right up to the planned time. But that is something that I ended up enjoying. So outside, I set up a TV in the kiddie pool so I could feel like I was kind of, not on a retreat maybe, but it was still enjoyable. So the more I thought about the play that I can play, to me, that's playing. An adult laying in the kiddie pool is watching television is play. And the more I thought about it, one of my biggest problems was not understanding what my idea of fun was. So I found lots of things that I've enjoyed. I did not enjoy bread making. I did not enjoy the gardening. I don't know. I think the gardening, I'm with Jesse. Like, I have so many responsibilities.
Yeah.
It felt like a responsibility, and I did keep working at it, and they died anyway. So then it was like a doubly unfun. I was like, what is wrong with this?
See, for me, I like to be able to see the result. I guess that's
Yeah.
what's fun for me,
It's
Yeah.
satisfying.
And it's kind of meditative, I guess, is really, so I don't know if that's really fun so much as, relaxing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I did my latest project, because I do like projects, and I like to stay busy, but the redecorating the living room, when I thought about it, and each thing I've really been trying to be mindful about it. Like, what is it I'm lacking? What's that need before I start something? And like the bread making was a combination. That was in the beginning where you couldn't get bread. And I happened to come across a bread maker, and I'm like, okay, I can make my own bread. And no, baking is not my thing. So it wasn't for enjoyment. I was sort of thinking of necessities. But the latest is this redecorating the living room, and it's really interesting because one of the things I've tried to pay attention to is what are we learning from this, either about ourselves or about other people or about society or something like that? Because we're in such a unique position and no one's ever done this before. So, I keep trying to guess, like, what's it going to be like afterwards? And it's really based on what we learn. And one of the things that I really recognized, which of course makes sense with my career, is I love changing things. Like, I love changing things. And when I was through this whole thing, I've been trying to kind of go through the house and the yard and think, okay, if this is my whole kingdom now, I can't go anywhere else. What's useful? What's enjoyable? What's pleasant? What's not? And one of the things it took me the longest to notice was my living room. So it's the furniture I've had for over 20 years. So I think that's amazing, right? So the same leather brown couch, club chairs, ottomans, it's all dark, it's all heavy, and it's in excellent shape because we hardly ever use it. And I realized we don't use it because it's not comfortable. And so all of a sudden it was like, oh, I feel a transformation coming on. And what's been interesting about it's been very fun. I have to say it's been very fun. But what's really interesting for me is that I'm very patient with people, but I am not patient with projects. I want to see the result now. Like, I want to do it and get it done and then see the result. And you can't do that anymore. You can't get what you want in a day anymore, or 2 days. So I have this crazy, really messy looking living room right now because as each thing comes in, I'm putting it together and putting it out, but all the old stuff is still in there because the last thing to come is a couch, and that's not coming until like the end of November. And so it's forced me to try to really look only at what I want to see in the room, not at all the big heavy leather furniture anymore, but now the light turquoise and gray and beige things that are popping in. And so that's a form of fun now. Like, I'm realizing, it doesn't have to be exciting. It can just be really enjoyable. And so, but it's actually stretching out my enjoyment, right? Because I can't finish. And that's typically, if I start something and I can't finish it within a few weekends, it doesn't get finished. It gets set to the side. So
I was just going to say that.
so this is like, I have no choice. I mean, I can't not finish it or it'll look like a department store in there. But I'm finding that very interesting, that all the juxtapositions of, I have to be patient, but yet I want to get things done. And I have to deal with boredom. And I don't know what to do with that energy half the time. And it's just a lot of paying attention to the sort of the roller coaster of the feelings that come through. But it is helping.
I think for people out there that are listening that maybe we can't afford to redo our living room or buy new furniture, paint is actually very inexpensive. I mean, you can buy a gallon of paint for $25. And my husband is like monitoring my visits to Home Depot because I love to paint. I've probably repainted my house myself, I don't know, 5 times since I've lived here. And I love it because it changes an entire room. And I'm just like you, where I love changing things. I'm constantly rearranging furniture, trying to make it look different. And it does help with the pandemic fatigue where you feel like you're in a new space because, oh my gosh, I'm so sick of looking at the same wall. I'm so sick of looking at that. I'm sick of looking at that. The more you kind of move things around and just shift it, it might feel better and change that energy too.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that too. If even if you don't have that $25 you want to spend on paint, moving your furniture around feels different. Yeah. And I was laughing when you were talking about how much you like changed Teresa, because Teresa, so we used to work out of Teresa's home office, and I'm telling you, twice a month I would come in and all of the furniture would be moved around. And I think I told Vanessa, like, maybe on her first day she showed up and Teresa had just moved the furniture, and Teresa was like, oh yeah, I had to move it around because this and this, and there's always like a logical reason for why. And Teresa walked out of the office. I was like, yeah, she moves the furniture around a lot, so
just get used to it.
Don't get used to this setup.
Don't get comfortable.
Imagine my childhood. It was, I'd come home from school and all the furniture's on the front lawn. Like, Mom, what are you doing?
Changing things.
Just fixing things up.
But it is fun, and it feels, it gives it like a new energy.
It does. And a lot of times I plan things out. I'll draw it all out, but it doesn't feel right. So I end up like, I'll give it a week and then it's like, that's not right. And then I have to move it all again. So yeah, I spend a lot of time moving furniture. Well, I'm really, I was interested to see like a lot of protests I heard broke out in Europe over the last couple of days, because now that their numbers are spiking and I don't even know, because we've never really here come completely out of the shutdown. You know, we've opened up a little bit, but we haven't been set free.
Right.
And I was thinking about, you know, how would that feel if you'd been completely free and open and able to go back to normal life, and you know what it feels like to be shut down, and for them to then say, oh, sorry, you got to go back.
Well, I don't know. I think at this point, how do I put this? I think we have the people that are not adhering to certain restrictions. But there's, I think for the vast majority, maybe people are used to it, or that they are more prepared so that they know what the plan is. They have a plan this time. It would be nice to have a little bit of notice so you can plan. You know what I mean? If that were to be the case, but.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Jessie?
I was going to say that would be hard, I think, for the people, because for the most part, the four of us have all like handled it pretty well and been like, you know what, whatever, we'll do what we have to. And none of us were, you know, like going out. We weren't really busybodies or like out on the town beforehand. But I have some friends who are very outgoing, like loved going to bars and just like being out in the city with other people. And they had a really hard time when it all happened. So I'm imagining that if you have had a really hard time being in seclusion this whole time, then yes, to be like released back into the world with total freedom and then to be pulled back in, I think would be really hard for a lot of those people.
I think especially for people who have mental health issues, I don't think it would be wise. You know what I mean? I think that that those people, there's obviously there's still not enough mental health support out there available to people. And so for people that are suffering, to come out of that state of suffering and then to be shut right back into it, I think would just be disastrous.
I think it'd be hard. And I think I also agree with Jessie. A lot of it's younger people that is their life, is being out socializing all the time. So I don't know. I think we'll have to just wait and see what happens, but I think there's some really long-term ramifications to it, and people have got to start coming up with coping strategies or solutions, even permanent solutions, because this is going to go on now again. You know, I just heard again yesterday, at least the third quarter of next year. That's almost a year. So it's like a whole nother year. So I don't know. What about you, Vanessa? You think it'd be harder or easier?
I think it'd be harder. I think for young people, because these are like the people that I socialize with. I think even right now, I see them, they're going out and they're posting these pictures with their friends. And it's just hard, especially for me to see, because I've been at home, I've been, you know, doing my part. So for them to give them their freedom and then like take it away, I couldn't even imagine, really.
I
think it's the mental state too, is a lot of people are not seeing this as, they're just waiting for stuff to get back to normal. Well, I don't know if there really is going to be a normal again. And I think when that realization sets in, that we're going to have another wave of people that are just not going to be able to handle it.
Yeah. I don't know the numbers. I have no idea. I'm not even sure how to look that up, but I don't think there's a way to, but even if it's not mindfulness, if it's, you know, exercising, or if it's therapy, or whatever the tools are that you use, I don't know how many people there are out there that don't have any tools. And so then you're just sort of having to go day by day. It has to be frustrating, because I don't know how you process the emotions that are coming up. I've been shocked at myself how many, you know, I get up one day, I feel like a split personality. I get up one day, I'm like, yeah, I got all this stuff to do and I'm happy and hyper and whatever. And then the next day I get up, I'm like, whatever. It's completely up and down. So
For me, it's interesting because, like I said, I have a family at home, and so I have a lot of distraction. I cannot imagine those of you that are out there that you live in an apartment where you don't have a yard space where you can go outside and enjoy your own space, or single people that are living alone. I mean, I think those are the people that really need to be reached out to right now. I don't know how I would be able to handle that, because if I was all alone, I would probably be losing my mind, and not in a funny way.
Yeah.
I mean, it really makes me worry for people like that, because
Yeah.
if they don't have those tools, it can get scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think the other thing too is that I can't think of another time, unless you go all the way back to like the Great Depression or World War II or something, where people had to sacrifice over a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So there have been things that have happened, like in the United States. I don't know about the whole world, their histories that well, but there have been times when there's some kind of an event and we have to sacrifice for 3 days or a couple of weeks, and then everything goes right back, or not after 9/11. Things didn't go right back to normal. Certain things changed permanently, like they will with this, but we didn't have to sacrifice for any length of time. And I think that we're not conditioned to do that in some ways. We're such an instant gratification society, and we've, many ways we've had it pretty easy. And so the idea of even sacrificing, I think some people resist that whole concept. Like, why do I have to sacrifice anything? So
Right.
so on top of being secluded or lonely or suffering with, sadness or depression, there's also a little bit of anger constantly boiling there of like, why is this happening? And why do I have to sacrifice? And why can't things just go back to normal? And that just aggravates it worse, because you're adding more negative emotions to something you're already not handling well.
Yeah, I've started to get that, like, pandemic fatigue, in the sense that I'm maybe being like, not even risky, but I'm doing things that are pretty just like superfluous. Is that the word I'm looking for? So I'm getting a facial today. I was like, I'm gonna go get a facial, and I booked my appointment and I paid for it, and I feel stupid, and I'm gonna do it, and I'm hoping that I enjoy it and that it feels like free to be outside of my house. But
what's so funny is I just noticed your face when you said that, like, I'm getting a facial today, and you kind of had like that. So there.
And I do these things, and like, we talk about all of this at work. So like when I booked my facial, I was like, oh my God, like everyone that I work with is going to be like, oh wow, good job, Jess. And then when we decided to talk about this today, I was like, all right, well, I have to talk about how I'm getting a facial, because it's just like too on topic for me to not do it. But yeah, I think that people are just doing even small things that don't like feel risky, but I think, I don't know, I mean, maybe it's like a gateway drug for me, and after I get my facial, I'll start taking like bigger risks and taking it less seriously. But
yeah,
I don't know, I think on either side of the coin, you're maybe going to feel stupid every now and then, but at least on the safe side, you're protecting yourself and you're protecting other people.
Yeah, that's like me finally making a dental appointment. I debated over that for 2 months, and again, that same agitation comes up. Really, I have to make a life or death decision to get my, teeth taken care of. But at the same time, part of me does think that, so I think it does create this whole self-judgment versus judging others comes up. It's like, well, is everyone else in that building going to be wearing a mask, and are they washing their hands? I know the dentist's office itself is, but I can't jump from the street to the 12th floor without interacting with other people. And so it just makes you stop and think about, should I be doing this? Should I not be doing this? Health is important. I know tons of people aren't going to the doctor either that need to go to the doctor, but even that to me is fatiguing. Like every decision, is it worth it to go do this? Is it worth it to go do this? Is it worth it to go do this? I don't know.
Yeah.
I have friends that are, I have friends that are going on Tinder dates.
Oh my gosh.
Like with different people every 2 weeks. And so I'm like, you know what? It does, like when you start to compare it to what other people are doing, and like if there are people that you respect and consider to be smart and responsible and they're doing things like that, then it's like, okay, well then it's not as bad if I do this, or like, go to the dentist, go get a facial, we'll have less contact than if we were on a date with each other.
That's true. One of the things that I do when I'm
can I pause everybody for just a second? I gotta let my dog out.
No, go ahead.
My dog started barking.
Oh, I'm growing grass. That's my new thing.
Oh, you're growing grass?
I pulled up a bunch of dead grass out of my yard and I put down grass seeds. So I've been like obsessively watering my lawn, trying to keep them moist.
Your little scissors out there.
She's going from a gardener to a farmer now. Well, I was going to say one of the things that I weigh, because I have friends that keep asking me to go out or go have coffee or things like that, and then of course holidays coming up. I'm thinking about, can you get together with family? Like I haven't seen my family in so long, and now what I've been trying to put in as a buffer is to ask myself, how would they feel if they accidentally gave me the virus? Like instead of even thinking about me, I try to think, how bad would they feel forever if something happened, right? And then it's clearly not worth it. So that somehow makes it easier for me. But Vanessa, are you going anywhere?
No, actually. I mean, when I do feel like I need to go out, I go like to the grocery store.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, I go for a walk around my neighborhood. That's what has really been helping me actually, is walking around outside. And I know like hiking, I really enjoyed hiking, but then at the beginning when the trails started closing and then there was all these people who were going to the trails, I'm like, well, I feel like I can't do that now.
Yeah. We're not here alone, and that's one of the hardest things. But then socially, I know. So what I was going to say is like, so my friends call. So when a friend calls and says, "Hey, do you want to meet for coffee at such and such place?" and it's very casual, as if it's normal. And then so at first I was like, "No, I'm not ready to go out yet. No, I'm not ready to go out yet. No, I'm not ready." And then it'll be, "Hey, you want to get together for drinks at this place? They serve food, so they've got the patio open." Well, it's still a bunch of people sitting together outside, but drinking, and which means everybody gets more relaxed and they're not as careful. And so now, this many months into it, that's the other thing that makes me question myself, like, how do you politely say to someone, "No, and why are you going?" or "No, I'm just not going to socialize until this is over." So I feel so antisocial. You know what I mean? Where I'm glad that they're, comfortable, and I'm assuming they're taking precautions. I don't know that for sure, but we need new etiquette. Like, how do you say, "No, I'm following the mandates," or I don't know what you say without sounding judgmental or antisocial.
I actually had this problem with my friends, and a lot of my friends, they really don't see other people. They just see each other. And so, that's their way of being careful, is they're only hanging out with each other. But, I'm not. And I was saying no a lot. And then I noticed I stopped getting invited to things. And I was like, wow, are they mad at me? And then I talked to one of the gals and she's like, well, no, we just figured you didn't want to hang out. And I'm like, well, honestly, I'm just not comfortable yet.
Yeah.
And then it was like this big aha moment for all of them. They were like, oh, you should have just said something, and in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, they don't like me anymore. But no, it was really just communication. That's all it took.
Great. Or none of us will have any friends by the time this is over. We'll be alive and well, but we won't have any friends.
Yeah, so actually what I did, instead of, because I had the same exact problem as Melissa, I noticed that my friends stopped asking me to hang out. And I asked my other friend, has she been asking you? And she said, yeah, she's been asking me. And so that's how I found out. But then I talked to her and I said that I wasn't comfortable going out in person, but if we could Zoom once a week and just like get in touch. And that's what we've been doing. We've been Zooming once a week. And that's actually part of my fun, really. We have like these silly conversations. We talk about movies, TV shows. So it's worked out for me.
I think that's a good point too. And that's another suggestion. So that same group of friends, we actually have a book club. And we actually call it's a champagne club with a dash of literacy, because we'll get on Zoom and we talk about the book for like 5 minutes, and then we just have our champagne and we're talking and giggling the rest of the time. And it does make you feel, oh, finally a little bit of relaxation where I'm not having to worry about anything. We're all just being kind of goofy. So that's a good thing too.
I realized I was making a big mistake because I was having happy hour with friends on Zoom, and I was doing it from right here. So
In your
where I
office.
work all day,
Yeah.
and then it was just
That's not a
extending my work day, and it just dawned on me, because we're talking about getting together. I'm like, I have to move outside or something. I shouldn't be sitting at my desk, for a social visit. But
Yeah.
I think that maybe brings up the final thing I'd like to touch on, which is how we shift our thinking, because I think what most of us are trying to do with mixed results is take whatever we did pre-pandemic and just move it online, but the same way it was pre-pandemic. And then because it doesn't feel the same, we're like, well, that's not fun, or that's not enjoyable, or whatever, instead of recognizing that everything we do now, I mean, it's the same thing with school. So kids are being asked to learn the same curriculum that was in the classroom. It's just been lumped onto a computer, but it's a different modality of learning. And of course we go through this because we keep adapting. We're still adapting to the workshops being online. So we had no choice at first, but just to try to move them online. But then we've been experimenting the whole time, trying to make them more interactive and more interesting. But I think that this is true now for everything that we do. Like shopping is going to be different. Socializing is going to be different. Learning is going to be different. And so it's almost like we need to step back maybe and get the creative juices flowing again, because it's like reinventing a lot of aspects of life.
I think that we would all benefit from giving up hope that things will go back to normal. Because I think, if we're thinking like, oh, 6 months time, a year's time, it's going to go back to normal, then why would I put all this effort into doing new things or like changing the way that I do the old things, because things are going to go back to normal. And I think it, I hope, maybe it will go back to normal, but I don't think that holding out hope and just waiting is helping anyone. I think it's causing a lot of people a lot of suffering.
Yeah, because they're waiting for it's like keeps getting extended. Like when
feel
you're
like you
waiting
can't
in line
live.
at a store, right?
Yeah, like everyone's waiting to live their lives, and it's like
Stop
time is
waiting.
passing. This is your life right now. You need to like do things that make you feel like you're alive now, instead of waiting to feel alive in a year.
Mm-hmm.
That's an excellent point.
I think, figuring it out too. What are those things? That's the first step, right?
Yeah. And it's, I mean, I think it's practically guaranteed that many aspects of life will never go back. For one, the virus isn't going to go away. So we may get vaccinated, but that's going to take a long time to take effect. And that's not the only virus out there. You know what I mean? So there's new things coming up on a much more frequent basis now, which means we may end up really living and playing and learning in different ways that would minimize the risk. So I think, I know that they're looking at that, whoever they are, but they're already thinking in those terms of, okay, how do we, when the next pandemic hits, how do we make sure this doesn't happen again? Well, if we've already got things in place that prevent us from being crammed into such tight spaces, or, every building has to have air ventilation, or, whatever it is that's going to come up. And then likewise with corporations drive everything that happens, right? Well, corporations have had a whopping lesson through this. They now see all these ways they can save money. They don't need to have people coming into the office. They don't need to pay for giant parking lots. They don't need to. So that's going to drive changes that, we may not be seeing yet. And then for places like California, where things can be set up outside, I can see construction changing, right?
Yeah, I actually enjoy the outdoor dining.
Yeah.
Much more than inside. I know it's not feasible for most of the country, but for California, it's great.
And so what you'll see then is changes in architecture. So instead of the bulk of the space being indoors, the bulk of the space will be outdoors under a tent that they can take up. Or, I could just see like all kinds of things changing, which is all, again, there is no good or bad. It's going to be pleasant for some people and unpleasant for some people. But I just think with the population growing to where it is and places being so compact and so just tight. Just in the 20 something years I've been here. The congested areas are so congested. So it's like a breeding ground. So this is like, again, this is not going to be the last new or virulent virus that we get. So I can see a lot of things changing. And I think what Jesse said is really profound, which is, okay, let go of whatever's going to happen and just live your life now. And instead of worrying about it's not like it was before, or this doesn't feel right, or like for me, I'm not having any fun. Well, then I got to find new ways to have fun. I don't know how I'm going to get excited sitting here alone all day. I'll have to play. It's Halloween. I'll find some shocking movies. I don't know. I have to find some way that I get that little jolt of excitement. But I think in the long run, that is the answer. You know, as you know, I finally got an appointment or a reservation or whatever it is to go to the zoo. And that just happens to be one of my really enjoyable activities that I do. I like all the walking. They have, you know, that chimpanzee troop is amazing to watch. And already it's like, I'm not sure why I did that, because I can't bring anyone with me, and I'm on a timed amount of time I can be there, and I have to wear a mask the whole time. And it's like, it's not going to feel like the casual thing I used to do, which is when I was feeling pent up in here, just hop in the car and drive over to the zoo and walk around for a couple of hours. You know what I mean? So it was refreshing, and I can already tell it's not going to feel the same way. I'm going to be worrying about where other people are, worried about the mask, trying not to touch any of the surfaces. And so it's like, I got to find new gigs. I don't know what they are yet, but I think that is the bottom line.
Well, it's also shifting your mindset on your way to the zoo, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't expect it to be the normal zoo visit. Just like, don't expect it to be the normal visit with your friends, or the normal, you know, quote unquote normal.
Yeah. And I think that's a very hard thing for the human brain to grasp, because all of our beliefs are based on our past experiences. Yeah. So it's like, it's undoing those. I mean, that's what we do with mindfulness, right? But it is undoing those. It's like, okay, no, new patterns. We need new patterns, new habits. And that's, you know, slow to develop, but frankly, most of us have some extra time now against our wills. So at least we can start contemplating, you know, one thing at a time. And, you know, the most important message I would say is to keep in mind you have to take baby steps, you know. So I think even for me, I'm not going to try to replace. I was thinking of this yesterday, because one of my ideas was, okay, look at each thing I can't do anymore and what could I replace it with? Well, doing that, I'm already comparing.
Yeah. And you're going to.
Yeah. So it's like, no, I can't replace. I just need to, pay attention to how can I replace, like, going to Disneyland? There's no replacement for that. You know what I mean? That I can do. So instead it's more like, okay, let's start just observing, you know, what feels fun. What, for me, where's some furniture I can move? Maybe I could offer a service to the neighborhood. I'll just go around and rearrange all their furniturer. I don't know. But I think it is.
I feel like you need a big trampoline in your backyard. Just really get those thrills. You almost fall off. It's scary. You feel the rush.
That might be a good idea, Jesse. I was just thinking, what do you call those things that you hang on to through the jungle? You know, maybe I could set up one of those. Zip line from the front yard to the backyard.
I'm gonna cut out a cardboard box, and I'm gonna slide up and down. I'm gonna slide down my stairs. I'm gonna walk back up, and I'm slide back down.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a big day.
Old school thrill seeking.
Well, amazingly enough, people kept themselves entertained for a long time.
Yeah, we got to go back to basics, right?
Has anyone found it helpful at all to meditate? I don't know who all's meditating, but helpful in, like, getting centered before you start the day or at the end of the day to kind of reset or anything like that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I started doing that actually after work and before my classes. Has really helped me get focused again.
Good.
Because like having work and then school online, just looking at the screen, it's not good.
Yeah. I think your brain goes into, I forgot what it's called, reticular something. I'll have to look that up. But when you look at a screen for any length, I think it's 15 minutes or longer, your brain switches, the conscious brain starts to shut down, and it just starts to sort of record the subconscious. And so just like we're putting in all these short breaks in like really 45 minutes into a workshop and we're taking a break. And it really is about getting off that screen. So I think that that's one area that we can definitely tinker with as a society now. Like, I think for kids, I know Michael's classes are 70 minutes long, and he started giving them breaks because I was talking about adults can't do it. So for you to switch from work to school, you need to like take off earlier, get a break, go outside, go take your walk, something where you're not just sitting there looking at the screen.
Yeah, and if you think about the fact that it takes 21 days to create a habit.
Yeah, 21.
And now, because we are accustomed to turning to the screen when we don't know what we're going to do with ourselves, now it's becoming a habit.
Yeah.
To where we don't think of other stuff anymore. We just go straight to the screen.
Yeah. And I've developed another screen habit, which is television.
I haven't gotten there yet.
I could go years without watching TV before. And now, because I'm alone all the time, so I end up with, it's like I get off of this screen, but then there's nothing to do.
So it's like the other screen.
I need voices that are not inside my head. So I turn on the other screen. So I'm going to have some habits I need to start undoing.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are. I mean, it's not just the eating. A lot of people are doing all kinds of things to self-soothe or to try to minimize loneliness or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think originally I was thinking with the food and the TV, who cares right now? Like the thing is to get through this and, intact.
Mm-hmm.
And it's too long. It's like, okay, no, now I have to start changing those habits now.
Mm-hmm.
I gave up the Cheetos, but the TV I didn't give up yet. So now I'm like, can I give up my binge watching? Because now it has become a habit. So I'm sure it has for millions of people. But yeah, that's another thing to look at. Like, what habits have you picked up since
Mm-hmm.
this started? Not Vanessa with the abs of steel. She's only picking up good habits, evidently. The rest of it, I don't know about you, Jessie or Melissa. I'm just really speaking for myself. But
no, I definitely, like, the moment I have like that thought of like, well, what am I going to do now? I'll just like compulsively reach for my phone. And like we talked about last week, I don't have social media. I just go on YouTube and I watch just like mindless 14-minute videos like on repeat.
Yeah.
That's why
it's
I garden.
Weird.
That is why I garden. What can I do now? I'm not getting on my phone. I'm going to go outside and enjoy the weather, because otherwise I would be stuck to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's hard, but I do think we've done pretty well. And I do like what we did for a month, which was hold each other accountable to starting to create good habits. So I would highly encourage that for anybody it's hard to change a habit. And if you're alone, nobody even knows what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
So really easy to go, I'll start tomorrow, or nah, who cares today? So, create a little accountability group, decide the good habits you want. You don't have to have the same ones, but it's just where you share the results. Did you do it today? Did you do it today? Did you do it today? So then when you're sharing that with someone else, then it helps motivate you to do it. So whether it's changing your eating habits, Jessie and I had a little problem making our beds, so we had that one thrown in there because
we need to restart the accountability group, because I think I've made my bed twice this week.
I was actually going to ask next week if you guys feel like we should do it again. But it does motivate you. It's hard to get motivated for some of these things now. So if you have an accountability buddy or a group, then at least if you have to answer to someone. And then how do you explain? Jessie and I laughed about this because I've always made my bed. I mean, for years and years and years, it was a daily habit. And with the pandemic, nobody was coming over. No one was going to see my room. So I was like, who cares? And I quit making my bed. But it's a keystone habit, and it trickles down into other areas of your life. And so I mentioned it one day, and Jessie said, I've stopped making my bed too. So that became one of doesn't have to be rocket science. It doesn't have to be anything hard. It has to be something that you're getting disciplined about again and that you follow through on. So.
Yeah. And also think of all of the things that pre-quarantine pandemic that you wanted to do, but never had the time for.
Yeah.
Guess what? We have a whole lot of time right now. A lot of us, right? So if you're trying to get a new workout routine, if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to change your eating habits, if you're trying to create the habit of always making your bed, any of those things that now you have the time to actually do it.
Yeah.
So instead of turning to the bad habits, maybe start trying to create good ones.
Yeah. Or even if you don't have the time, because I know where my time is now is evenings. but I'm frequently tired by evening. By the time I stop working, I'm tired, and then I don't want to do anything that's, too much work. But a lot of things we're talking about don't take any extra time. It just takes making a different choice. Making my bed, like I was like, why did I stop? I think I was trying to save time. I don't know. I was making stuff up. Why I stopped making my bed? Because I'm lazy. But it takes me like 3 minutes to make my bed. It's not a time sucker. It's just making myself do it.
Yeah.
So and the evenings, that's the area I have to work on. I just have nothing to do in the evenings now. It's nothing except watch TV and eat, which is not a good combination. So I've been good about the eating. That I changed already, but the TV, oh, my buddies Netflix and Prime are in for, they're going to join my other friends that I won't go to coffee with or anything else. I got to pull back, but we'll see. I think the important thing is, especially from a mindfulness perspective, is just, we need to all try not to judge ourselves. That we are going through something. It is uncomfortable, or it's sometimes uncomfortable. Like, I don't even know what to call it anymore. Sometimes it's fine. Sometimes I think it's uncomfortable. But when we mess up or we do something that we, think, oh, why did I do that? Or if we don't make our bed one day, try not to beat yourself up about it, because we're doing pretty good to still be hanging in there and working and trying to help other people get through it and not lose our own sanity and all that good stuff. And what we've all got to work on, for me, I'll just be really selfish. On Fridays, every Friday, when I say, what are you guys doing this weekend? And all of us are silent. We've got to come up with something that we're all doing on the weekend.
That is a depressing moment.
Every week. So, no, you've had a couple, Jesse, that were like, okay, she's going to go do something, So yeah, I think that's one area maybe we can focus on, is what's one, let's start with that. What's one enjoyable? So let's not say fun, but it's play. Play is where you're doing something just for the pure enjoyment of it. So, how are you going to play this weekend? At least a little bit. So maybe we can focus on that. All right. Well, thank you as always for all of your wisdom and insights. And thank you to our listeners. And we will be back in some form next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.